Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Don't you just hate it? Every time you switch on the TV, scroll through Facebook, or read a newspaper, it's Muslims have done this and Muslims have done that. They're barbaric, this religion is dangerous, etc., etc., etc. The saddest thing is that so many people out there believe it. It's people like you and I who need to dismantle these misconceptions by showing how beautiful Islam is. If it wasn't for such amazing dawah organizations out there, many people wouldn't be Muslim today. One such amazing organization is the Islamic Diversity Center. For over 17 years now, they've been building bridges within communities and calling people towards Islam through education, awareness, engagement, and empowerment. Their amazing work has resulted in hundreds of people accepting Islam and thousands more understanding that Islam is not about killing and murder. Rather, it is a peaceful religion full of understanding, harmony, and worship. In order to continue guiding the masses, they urgently need to raise £50,000. That's just 500 people donating £100 each. Now, as Muslims, if we can't sacrifice our time and resources to call people to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then at least we should sacrifice a tiny percentage of our wealth, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us with. Please donate £100 today and earn sadaqah jariyah on your scale of good deeds from now until the end of the Day of Judgment, where your only hope of entering Jannah is through the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Please, lastly, hit the share button. Wajazakumullahu khair.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. You're listening to the Newcastle Fast FM, and this is the Hype Youth Show. And today we're going to be talking about problems which the youth can face in school. I'm joined today by myself and the rest of you. Introduce yourself.
Ismail. Moma.
Hussam.
Assalamu alaikum, my name is Yazan.
And I'm your host, Is-haaq Saeed, and we are currently in our 6th week. So I think it's our third last week today. And inshallah, we'll keep going until we finish the course. So last week we were talking about, can anyone remember what we were talking about?
Was it drugs?
Yeah, it was drugs and addictions. Just give me a point each of you learn or remember from last week's show.
How drugs can affect your life.
So how can they affect you?
It can make you like lose friends because the way you're acting, plus of your like it will change how you act.
Yeah, good. We also said that like you could get into like fights with family. So like your mum and dad, they might become upset with you. Answer. Ismail, what do you remember from last week's show?
That you need to choose the right friends, because if you choose bad friends and they do drugs and that, at one point they might peer pressure you to end up taking drugs.
Good. That's a combination of two shows put together in one. If you have like bad friends who do drugs, then it's likely that you might end up doing drugs as well. Yes, anything you can remember? Okay, we'll go to Sam. Maybe Sam can remember something.
One about like how young people take drugs at early age as well.
Yeah, so like you can get certain characteristics from like your parents or the people around you. So like if you've always seen your parents smoking, then it's likely for you to start smoking at a younger age. Those were good points. Well done, guys. So this week we're talking about problems that we can face in school or at work. So can you give me any problems that we could face at school or at work?
Bullying,
Bullying, okay, yeah.
Racism.
Racism, good.
Getting your salad done at the right time.
That's a good one. Praying on time, yeah. Sam,
Uh, discrimination.
discrimination, good. So yeah, we're gonna start off talking about free mixing because I know it's very hard in school where sometimes you've got to, I don't know, you have to do group work, and the teacher puts you with a girl who's obviously non-mahram. Do any of you know what non-mahram means?
Uh,
With no hijab.
No, but good try.
doesn't follow the deen, doesn't follow Islam.
No, but good try again.
non-religious, a non-believer.
No, but good try. It's actually someone that you can marry. So you can't marry your sister or your mum, okay? But someone, so you behave differently to someone who you can marry than to someone who you can't. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So how we should behave with people that we could potentially marry. So that's what we're going to talk about first. So, what do you guys think? If you're put into a group with, let's say, a girl in your class, how should you behave?
Like
No,
mature.
Hmm?
Mature.
Can you repeat that again? I didn't hear what you said.
Mature.
One more time. I can't hear properly.
Mature.
Oh, mature. Oh, okay. Yeah. So we should behave maturely, right? Good. Anyone else?
behave
I
normally.
think that you should, like, say, being yourself, just like, do not make it complicated.
Try and avoid as much contact as you can.
Yeah. Good. Sam, what do you think? How should you behave around people that are non-mahram?
Act normally and act sensible.
Yeah, keeping sensible. So not going talking to her like she's your best pal. Um, in fact, when we look at the story of Musa alayhi salam, when he traveled to Madian after he accidentally killed an Egyptian, what happened there was he was at this like area where people would go and get water. Um, so he would see people giving water to their sheep and their animals, and he sees that there's like a crowd of men at the water, and he also sees that far off in the distance there's two women who are waiting patiently with their sheep, and they're like pulling on the sheep to control them because the sheep see the water and they want to go drink, but they're pulling on them to control them because they don't want to be around the men at that time. So they were going to wait till the men leave and then go water their sheep because their dad, he was an old man and he couldn't take care of the sheep. So their daughters would take care of the sheep and take care of the business so that they can financially support the family. So when he sees them, he thinks that it looks really weird that they're struggling. He's like, something's going on over there. And he also sees that everyone else at the watering hole is doesn't acknowledge that they're waiting for them and that they're just comfortably feeding their animals at the watering hole. So he goes up to the women and he asks them, "What's the problem? Like, what's going on? Is there anything I can help you with?" And we learn a really big lesson here because we know as men, we're supposed to have haya and we're supposed to have modesty, and we shouldn't really be talking women unless we absolutely have to. And so we learn a lesson here because we see that if someone is in trouble and there is nothing wrong, if someone is in trouble, uh, we should be going over there and asking them, like, "Do you need any help?" Even if they're a girl, even if they're from the opposite gender. But when we do go over and we ask them, like, "Is there anything wrong? What can I help you with?" We should also be mindful. We should also, think before we say. We shouldn't go there and, chat them up or give them small talk and ask them how their weekend was and go into all that sort of detail. We should just, do what we need to do and then get out of that situation. So if we are forced to work with someone from an opposite gender, the best thing is keep all the talk related to the work. Obviously, because they don't follow our Islamic values, they're going to try and talk about your weekend and that. Just give them an answer and honestly, but you can talk to them, but make sure you don't go too deep because the more deep you go, the more awkward it'll be for you Islamically. So we just talked about free mixing and dealing with non-mahram. What were the other problems we said we could face at school or at work?
Bullying.
Bullying. Nice. So what do you think we could do to stop bullying?
Just report it.
You can report it, tell the manager or the owner.
Yeah. So if you see bullying, you can report it to anyone of authority, so a teacher or your manager or whatever. Good. How else could you stop bullying?
Try to get away from the people that are bullying you.
Yeah. So if you're getting bullied, if you see them, best thing is to dodge them and prevent yourself from getting in a situation. Okay, how about this? If someone is being bullied, what advice would you give them?
Talk to people about it, your parents, your friends. Your parents will definitely do something. And if you have the right friends, your friends will do something too.
Yeah, so talking to people is the best way. But what if, let's say, they're scared to talk to anyone? What could they do?
You could talk for someone for them.
Yeah, so you could tell someone that's really, really close, like, I don't know, maybe a best friend or like an auntie or an uncle who you might look up to and you trust a lot. You could tell them and then they could pass it on. Um, what a lot of the times when people are bullying, they've actually been bullied before and they bully someone else as like, I don't know. But like a lot of the times bullies have been bullied before and yeah, it's like a cycle almost. Like if you get bullied, the chances are a lot of the times sometimes you might end up bullying someone else, and sometimes the bully doesn't even know that he's doing it. He might think of it as a joke, but you never actually know what someone's actually feeling. So that's why it's important to talk to people. Wissam, uh, have you ever been bullied?
Yeah, in year 7.
In year 7.
Yeah, it was
So
my first year school.
so what did you do about it then?
Obviously, when I got bullied, I talked to the teacher in school. And the teacher said, "Oh, what happened?" I told them about it, and the person who bullied me, the teacher like took him in the office and said like, "Oh, why'd you do that for?" Then he had to apologize as well.
Okay, that's good. See, so a lot of the times talking to people who are in who have authority, they can help you out and sort out the situation, and then you won't be bullied anymore. What else did we say? Another problem that we could face in school:
Praying on time.
praying on time. Good. So obviously, within the school day, obviously prayer time changes. So in the summer, it's more around 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock, but in the winter, it starts becoming later on. No, it's the other way around. In the summer, it's later, but in the winter, it's like 11 or 12. So, how do you think you could manage Salah? First of all, has your school got a prayer room?
We don't have a prayer
No.
room, but there's one teacher that we can go to, and she lets us in her class. She locks the door and closes the windows, and she stands outside and lets us pray. And when we're done, she just opens up the classroom again.
That's good. That's very good. So, Yazan and Omar, you said your school doesn't have a prayer room?
Nope.
Well, in my primary, I used to go to the like in the P when summer PE, and I used just to pray there. Then in the school, like there wasn't a place except when I pray in the classroom.
Well, then maybe you could take it up to the head teacher or your head of year and ask them and tell them, look, I'm a Muslim and I need to be praying 5 times a day. So if it's possible, is there anywhere I could, just pray a 5-10 minutes and I'll be out? Sam,
There was a teacher told us they will make a place for Salat al-Jum'ah, but I don't know if the idea got accepted or not.
oh, that's a shame. Hussam, what about you? Is there a prayer room where you work? Because you're doing apprenticeship, don't you?
Yeah, no, I was don't have a prayer mat. No, we don't.
Well,
So
maybe you could take it up to your boss then.
mm,
I'm a Muslim. I need to be praying at around 1 o'clock. If it's possible, could I just take like maybe an extended break or just extended lunch and find a place to pray?
yeah, I'll do that.
Inshallah.
So,
Um, what other problems did we talk about? Did we say that we could face in school?
Racism.
Name calling.
Racism. We'll do racism and then we'll do name calling. So racism is very, very it's very, very common nowadays, I feel. And how would you deal with racism?
Well, with me, if you be racist, you'll just end up with a lot of hate. The hate gets around real fast. And there was this one kid who was racist, and people took it too far, and yeah, they went and fought him and that stuff.
Okay, maybe that's not the right way to deal with it, but yeah, if racism to me, it depends on who's who's being like if you're. It depends on the person who's receiving the racism, because some people they take racism really, really heavily, whereas other people take it lightly and they don't really mind. So some people get really offended by racism, and sometimes they do get really angry, and sometimes they do end up fighting. But other people they take it lightly, and I feel like I'm one of those people who don't really. I mean, it offends me, but it's not too bad. I'm just like whatever you say, it's not that. it's not really hurting me or harming me that bad. So like I just let it be, and they can say what they say. I'll just ignore them. And I feel like sometimes that's the best way to deal with it, because otherwise it can spiral out of control. You could end up hitting him, and he could end up, I don't know, like bringing parents in, and it'll just spiral out of control, and it'll make the situation a lot worse than if you were to just ignore it. You can ignore it and then go and tell a teacher, and that would be a lot better than trying to fight him for just something he said. That, to be honest, for me personally, it doesn't really hurt me that bad. So I just usually ignore it, and I just carry on living my life, because I'm not gonna let him stop me from my like education. What else? If you see someone being racist to someone else, what could you do?
We could tell them.
You've given me a lot of answers today. You need to calm down. I want someone else to give me an answer. Anyone else?
No.
Uh,
That's okay. You can see it. Come, your turn.
say if let's say if the person's being racist, yeah, you should tell them to stop because it's not the right thing to do.
Yeah. Okay. So especially if he's Muslim, telling him to stop would be very good. Give him down on the spot. Just feel like racism isn't allowed in our religion, because I believe, I forgot which Sahaba it was, but one of them told Bilal radiallahu that he told him, "Oh, son of a black woman," and that was like an insult at the time. And the Prophet came, and he was very, very angry at the Sahaba. He was telling him that he was shouting at him, and the Sahaba was like really surprised and shocked, and the Sahabas were all like, "Whoa, what's going on?" And the Prophet told him that, oh, whatever his name was, I forgot it, that you still live in the time of ignorance. As back in the day, when before Islam came, they used to call it the time of ignorance. That's what they used to call it, of Jahiliyyah. So, like, yeah, racism in Islam is very, very is a very, very grave sin, and it shouldn't be done. Name calling. Wasn't that right, Yazan? Yeah, name calling. How can we deal with name calling?
What? Sorry.
Yazan, you go.
Yeah, what was your question?
Name calling. How can we deal with name calling?
Name calling. Well, you could tell them to stop on, but sometimes people would think that it's a joke, and they would like keep saying it, but like they wouldn't like they think it's a joke and they could say it and it won't make a difference. However, some people take it seriously, and it could
Yeah,
cause like trouble for them.
yeah, good answer. Ismail, you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, I still get it in Kenton. It was because we were changing in PE and I was pulling out my gloves, and I was one of them. My PE teacher came up to me and he said, "You wanna know who else wears one glove?" And he said Michael Jackson. And then people around me, and then yeah, most of year 8 knows me as Michael Jackson now because of my PE teacher. And I get called Michael Jackson.
I've never heard anyone being called Michael Jackson. Okay, so you were called Michael Jackson. Do you mind?
No,
No.
I'm not really
Okay. Well, yeah. Name calling. A lot of the times, bullying actually starts off with name calling, and it slowly rises up and gets worse and worse and worse. So you might be thinking it's harmless, but within that person who you're calling names, he might actually take it seriously, and then slow, he might not say anything either because he doesn't want to, you know, spoil everyone's like fun. But he doesn't say anything, or he might be scared. So it starts off with name calling, and it might gradually get worse until you end up bullying him, and bullying is not nice. So that was this week's show where we talked about problems which we can face in school. I was your host, Is-haaq Saeed, and we also had
Ismail.
top left,
Yes, and
underneath,
Omar.
Hussam.
and and that was this week's show. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Don't you just hate it? Every time you switch on the TV, scroll through Facebook, or read a newspaper, it's Muslims have done this and Muslims have done that. They're barbaric, this religion is dangerous, etc., etc., etc. The saddest thing is that so many people out there believe it. It's people like you and I who need to dismantle these misconceptions by showing how beautiful Islam is. If it wasn't for such amazing dawah organizations out there, many people wouldn't be Muslim today. One such amazing organization is the Islamic Diversity Center. For over 17 years now, they've been building bridges within communities and calling people towards Islam through education, awareness, engagement, and empowerment. Their amazing work has resulted in hundreds of people accepting Islam and thousands more understanding that Islam is not about killing and murder. Rather, it is a peaceful religion full of understanding, harmony, and worship. In order to continue guiding the masses, they urgently need to raise £50,000. That's just 500 people donating £100 each. Now, as Muslims, if we can't sacrifice our time and resources to call people to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then at least we should sacrifice a tiny percentage of our wealth, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us with. Please donate £100 today and earn Sadaqah Jariyah on your scale of good deeds from now until the end of the Day of Judgment, where your only hope of entering Jannah is through the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Please, lastly, hit the share button. وجزاكم الله خير.